So it's now going onto YouTube. And webinar is now live. As attendees join, go ahead and in the chat, go ahead and please introduce yourself, say who you are, where you're from, so we can see who we're talking to. Okay, Patty, you can go ahead and get started. It's 5 o'clock.
Welcome everyone to Caperd Corps Zoom presentations. My name is Patty Supay and I am this year's Caperd President. I hope that you are enjoying these valuable presentations hosted by Caperd. So far, the response has been overwhelming and we are so pleased to be able to pull together these great presenters to offer teachers what they need during these uncertain times. We will continue to offer these valuable presentations as long as it is needed. Now, although these presentations are being offered for free right now, we need to realize that organizations such as Caperd are not free to operate. As your professional organization, Caperd works to ensure that our teachers have the resources they need, and we work hard every day to advocate at the state and national level to ensure that our jobs are protected. Remember that being behind the scene work is done every day by dedicated volunteers, such as those that are working this Zoom presentation today. And this work relies on your membership. If you are not a member, please consider joining. If your colleagues are not members, encourage them to join. Our jobs depend on it. Because when the minute requirement returns back to California, it will be because of the hard work of Caperd. And for those of you outside of California that are joining us, we welcome you. And we ask that you too join your state organization and Shape America to keep quality physical education and health education in our schools. We have a couple of more sessions planned right now and are still looking for more. But our next presentation, we want to remind you, will be next week with Dan DeJager, teaching at the Unschool. Dan is a university lecturer, curriculum writer, and a teacher in Sacramento, California. He has taught diverse groups of students in a variety of settings. And Dan is the 2019 Shape America National High School Physical Education Teacher of the Year. Dan's going to share a story of starting a program at a school with no gym, no department, no equipment. He said that students didn't even show up for class unless they wanted to, but it was much like distance learning. And he says he's constantly reflecting and he's trying to make this program better. So he's going to share his story with us and let us know what he's figured out so far. I'm sure you won't want to miss it. You can keep up through the Caperd emails that are coming to you and the social media for announcements for our future presentations. As well, our Caperd website is keeping up to date with all of our sessions as well. As we plan for the next couple of months, we know you are looking for feedback and we want to know, we want more of it to see what's valuable and what can make you the best teacher. So let us know what you need. Today we are hosting Jennifer Mettler, gamifying your virtual or in-person PE program with GooseChase. Jennifer is a physical education teacher at Alice C. Stell Middle School in Calabasas, California. She was the 2018 Capered Middle School Teacher of the Year, and in 2019, she was recognized as the Shape America National Middle School Physical Education Teacher of the Year. In addition, the Physical Education Department at her school is a former recipient of the Capered Program of the Year Award. Jennifer earned her undergraduate and master's degree in exercise physiology, as well as her teaching credential from CSU Chico. In 2001, she began teaching middle school in Lodi, California. Jennifer became a national board certified teacher in 2009, and she recertified in 2019. She was a site director with the California Subject Matter Project for Health and Physical Education, and has also been part of the Community Transformation Grant with the LA Public Health. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Jennifer Mettler.
Thank you so much for that great introduction. I am excited to be here tonight. Please don't miss out on Dan's presentation. Dan is an inspirational teacher who has so much compassion and love for his students. And his presentations, I always walk away with just coming up with so much wonderful new information, but it also makes me realize what an impact we make on our students by creating a positive, warm, loving environment. So catch him next Wednesday. He is one not to miss. I have to get a little plug for my fellow Teacher of the Year who is in part of my group. Tonight, we are going to be presenting on a program called GooseChase, and it's a way to gamify your physical education program. I'm going to share my screen right now. Perfect. Okay. So if you need to get a hold of me, you can get a hold of me through my email address, and that's also my Twitter handle. If you like copies of this presentation, I'll also show this again at the end, but there's a QR code and also a tiny URL. In this presentation, I'm going to go and let you experience a little bit of a goose chase so you can see what it's like to be a student and do this scavenger hunt while at home. I'll also show you a little bit about how to use the platform, how to create missions, and give you some more information. So if this is something that you really want to do, you'll be equipped to get out and going. I'll also share you some tips for using it in physical education class, distance and in person. I use this a lot with my students, and they beg and beg and beg to do it. Some students are dripping with sweat because they are so like running from place to place to place to get everything done. And it's just a whole lot of fun. And I want you to experience that fun tonight and check it out. In order for you to experience what it's like to be a student, I'd like you to get out a cell phone, and I'll give you a moment for that. And if in the chat function, somebody's saying like, hey, slow down, just let me know so I can kind of slow down on this. But I also don't want to go too slow. And I'd like you to download the GooseChase app.
They're asking if there's a way to do it on a monitor instead of a phone.
You need to use it on a phone. And if not, it won't be that long that we're actually doing the GooseChase. So during that time, it won't be a big deal if they aren't able to get it on the phone. We're only going to do a really short game because I understand that not everybody can do it. But I also know in order to get excited about it and see how cool it is, you kind of need to try it yourself. I'll give about 20 more seconds here. Once it's downloaded, you're going to join the game. And so you will search for a game. And you're going to search for the game by putting in the game code 67LWZL. And then you're going to join the game. And if you're not participating in the game, this also kind of gives you a good way for you to understand for the students what it's like to join the game. So it's not too terribly complicated for them to do. And I'll talk more later on about how I handle this in my class with cell phones in particular. You're going to create a player name.
Can you please repeat the code?
Of course.
Thank you.
And if somebody wants to just put that code in the chat function,
We
so
got it.
someone's going to refer it. Perfect. So once the code's in, you're going to join the game and create a player name. And I'm going to be starting the game really quick. What this is a scavenger hunt. And in the scavenger hunt, there are physical challenges for you to do, and there are mental challenges for you to do. This is actually one that my students are going to be doing next week in their class. I've changed it to go over the topics of the 5 components of fitness. And so you'll see that there are knowledge questions in it. The goal is to get as many points as possible as you want. You can go in any order you want. The only thing is that the first one, I always have the students do their name. The tasks are not listed in any specific order, so you can skip around. The goal is to get as many points as possible in the time allotted. When taking videos or pictures, you can have somebody else film you. You can do it selfie style or put the phone against something to capture the image. Honestly, I don't care with my students if it doesn't have a great picture and they're moving and the phone's going all over the place and it's all blurry, because really what I want them to do is to be active. And so we are not looking for movie quality pictures. If it shuts off before you're done doing the activity, that's great. If it's all wiggly and jumping up and down, that's great too. Everything is good. If you need help during the game, and like I said, we're just going to do it for a really short amount of time for you just to get a little taste and kind of a look of what it looks like. We'll be monitoring the chat, so you can go right back here. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go and make this one live. I'm setting 30 minutes, but we're not really going to do it for 30 minutes. So the game is live right now. And in about 4 minutes, we're going to meet back. I'll stop the game so you can kind of look over it, check it out, try a few challenges, and then we'll really get into how to use this application in physical education. I'm going to stop sharing my screen during this time. And if there's any questions, you can go and shoot me your question. Oh, it's nice to see we got about 20 people right now doing this activity.
Jen, there's a question in the chat that someone said not all students have phones. Must they have a phone to participate? Is this not an option from their home computer?
So yes, you have to have a phone to use the platform. And so one thing you'll have to do with that is, I can show you during the session, is how you download the missions into Excel format. So what you can do is you can send the missions out as a Excel format, and the students can just literally check off the ones that they did during that time period. And so if you do have a few people who don't have cell phones in your class, normally when we do it in class time, you pair people up. And so since people are paired up into groups of 3 or 4 people, there's always one person in that group of 3 or 4 who have the cell phone. But at home, it's a little bit different. So if you have a student who doesn't have a cell phone, they can still go and have a list of all the missions. They can still compete with everyone else and check it off. And then they can report to you their score along with everyone else. You just won't have the evidence collected like you would with the other students. I hope that answered your question. And it's a really good one, which I will talk later on again about, because that is something important we know of how to work around the few students that may not have cell phones. We're going to go about 1 more minute longer, and then I'm going to stop the game and we'll come back and talk about it. We're going to do 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And let me stop that feed. And bring you all back. So hopefully you got a little taste of that. Those of you who are on, those of you who did not get a taste of it, don't worry. I'll be showing you the different types of missions, and also some people on our panel did this earlier, and I'll get to kind of show you what it looks like on the teacher end of their types of submissions. I'm just going to share my screen right now. So a little bit about GooseChase is it is a plan that costs money. If you are creative, you can do it in the basic way. And I don't get any kickbacks or anything from GooseChase. I just really like the application. And the $49 plan really works with anything an educator could use. The nice thing about it is my whole department shares one license. And so each teacher, we just have all our missions together on one account. So we don't need different license for the different teachers in our school. The $49 account allows unlimited games. So although there's a maximum 40 participant limit per game, you can run 2 games at the same time that are identical. So you could say these half of the students are going to run on one game and these half of the students are going to run on another game. You push them both out the exact same time. And so there's definitely ways to work around it if you need more than 40 people signed up at once. But that's kind of the breakdown in the costs. The free version, again, you just would need to be really creative. if you were to do that and set your students up on different times. I kind of find that especially right now, most districts are really willing to pay a little extra money for different softwares and programs because they want ways where students are active and engaged. And most likely, if you say our whole department is going to use it, it's going to cost $49 the entire year. Hopefully you'd be able to go and do that at that cost. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to show you a little bit about kind of the platform. So let's look at it, what it looks like from a teacher's eyes. Right here, I have all my different games that I've done, and I can access it easily. And I'm going to open up the same one you did, but examples with some people earlier. And when I open this up, I have a lot of missions here. One thing I always like to do is have the names first. And so students write their names. I often have a technology agreement second, saying like, I understand that any pictures I use are not going to be posted anywhere else and it's all going to be school appropriate. So often the second one might have a little bit of a technology agreement to it. But some really nice things about this program is that I can ask questions that are knowledge-based, such as which letter is not a main purpose of a warm-up? And so this is a concept we talked about in our class. So it's kind of like a review for a quiz almost, with knowledge questions and then physical activities. And you can go and do it and make it multiple choice where then they just put in the letter. You can do physical activities, such as planks where you have videos. So we have a lot of different ones. We have a matching one. Jumping jacks, parkour, there are curl-ups involved. Raps, I find my students really like to sing and play garage band and do some silly things too. So I like to mix in all different types of challenges and missions. Again, more knowledge in this one. Just throwing in something about taking a picture of eating something healthy, reinforcing that. Telling a joke, this is one of my favorites, is going through and actually hearing the students' jokes. They're normally really, really funny. Again, some silly stuff like air guitar. The students love that one a lot. This is one that's all planned for at home. This is one my students are going to be doing at home. So there's not a lot of social interaction, where ones that I plan at school, what we often do is we have to give another group a high five or another group a compliment, and I go and do a lot of social and emotional with other types of groups. But since this is just at home, it's all individual. Some little juggling, some dance off, adding in a picture of a book, more definitions, balancing something on your head for 10 seconds, doing squats. So you can see it's kind of a mix up of knowledge, physical, and then just some silly fun ones that the students really enjoy.
There's a question about security. Are the students involved or included in the license and the privacy?
So the way it works is that the students are not in the privacy, it just goes to you. And so if that's an issue, you can always have nothing with videos or pictures if you want to do it that way. But that is something that, if it is a concern with your school, this does have an educational license to it. The information and the pictures just go to the teacher platform. If that is an issue with your school district, then it may not be the right thing for you. I can't really answer on that. I know every district's a little bit different on that. There is a couple options that I want to go over with you that is really important to know, is that when I go to make these different missions, and I'm going to make one right now. So I'm going to add a mission to the list and show you how to do this. I'm going to just call it squats. And I'm going to give it a point value. This is how easy it is to do. And I'll say do 10 squats. And I can choose whether the picture is a video, text, or GPS location. So I'm going to keep it as a video. And then I'm going to go to advanced settings. And this is really, really important with GooseChase, is I have an option of it shown in feed or hidden in feed. I always have it hidden in feed. And what this means is that my students will not see anyone else's submissions. I am the only person to see the submissions. And that's really important, because what we don't want is another student to see somebody's submissions and then do something inappropriate with it, and that we do want it private. So I always select hidden in feed for everything I do at school. You will also have your choice of having photos or videos only. And so if you wanted just a video, you'd select video, or you could have it both. And it's really that simple to add a mission to your missions. I also can go to my previous missions, which is really nice. And let's say that there was a different one I did, and I just want to copy other missions from old ones and add them in. And so if you have a game you've done before, you can go and do that again without having to completely recreate it, which also makes it really handy. They have a mission bank of pre-done ones. I find that they're really not educationally appropriate, but sometimes it gives you some creative ideas to do. As a teacher, and let me just make sure I'm on the example one, so I'm not going to share any photos of people that didn't already know that they were doing this. I can see what's going on. And so as it's happening, I can see the last thing that somebody submitted. And so if you kind of want to know who's submitting what, who's submitted last, it gives you exactly the order that everybody did the answers in. There's also a leaderboard, and this will let you know who's in first place, second place, third place. I don't do anything with the places. The students, some of them are really motivated by getting like everything done first and getting first place, which is great if that motivates them. If that's not a motivating factor, to me, the points really don't matter. It's the fact that they're active, they're having fun, they're gaining knowledge, not necessarily the points they get. What is also nice is that I can look at submissions. And so if I want to see, like, do they understand indicators of exercise? I can go over to that question. I could pull it up and I can say, oh my goodness, Jess is amazing. Way to go, Jess. She knew that the answer was C. And I can look at what their answers are, which makes it really nice. And you can do that for any of them. You can go to the, let's see where there's curl ups. I could go to the curl ups, and then we can go and watch anybody here do their curl up. So if you did actually want it to be a little bit more where somebody is doing like a correct style of a squat in class, so you say have one person film somebody doing squats correctly, then in that case, if you're really looking for form and somebody else is filming, you can go through this and look at all the submissions and go, okay, these students understand proper form, these students don't. And so you can use this to collect evidence of their learning and see what you might need to reteach, which is really nice because it's all organized for you. Let me go back to the missions. Once you have kind of all the missions done, there's a few things nice that you can do with the start and stop. Is let me go over back to the missions. I can add, and oh, let me just go to that part really quick. Game information. Okay. You can also add some animations about when the game starts, it'll say, hey, go start. And when it stops, it'll say, come on back. But automatically, if you click it to stop at a specific time, everything will come back. I really like the platform just because it allows me to have evidence of my student learning, and it motivates them because it's a game and they love it. Absolutely love it. When I use this in class, in person, what I normally do is I have them in groups of 3. And that allows everybody to kind of be active. And then also if one group doesn't have a phone, then I can easily split them up and turn into groups of 4. I normally announce the day beforehand, tomorrow we're going to be doing a GooseChase. Why don't you get in groups of 3 right now? They get into groups of 3. And then I say, decide which one of you is going to have a cell phone. If no one there has a cell phone that they can bring to school, then we can readjust the groups right then. They also need permission to download an app. And so that's another issue. Some students are not allowed to download apps. Normally, if you pre-arrange it and you have groups of 3, they might change into groups of 4, but you're normally able then to find out about 1 every 3 to 4 students most likely is allowed to bring a cell phone to class and most likely is allowed to download an app and use their cellular data. If you're doing it inside the gym and you have Wi-Fi, that's great. They don't need any cellular data. If you're doing it out and about, then you may need to have that where they have to be allowed to use cellular data. I haven't had an issue with my students when I have them in groups like that. But if I was to have every single student have it, I definitely would have issues of students who don't have phones or aren't allowed to download apps. And so it's just a way to work around it. And it's an easy way to do it and problem solve it before you actually show up the day. When you do show up that day and one group doesn't have a phone, then it's no big deal. You just break them up and they just join other groups and it's really not a problem. I always have a special cone for them, and each group gets a little orange cone, and that little orange cone becomes their tripod. Because what I don't want is one student always filming and the other students participating. I want 100% participation. And that's why I allow the film to be kind of funny. Now, if I was doing movement analysis, then it would be okay for one person to film. But if I'm not doing movement analysis or a skill analysis of some sort, I want everybody to be active. So by each student, each group having a little cone, they just put the cone down, they lean their phone up against the cone, and then that acts as a tripod so that their group can be filmed while they do the different activities. I already mentioned before, it is really important to keep the submissions hidden in feed. We don't want any students getting uncomfortable because their photo ended up being someplace on social media with a nasty comment. So everything is hidden. I am the only person who sees the feed. What I like to do, and it's very easy to do when you go to your games, is between every period, something may go wrong and I'll do a little fix. And then what I'll do is I'll duplicate the game. And then I'll rename it. And when I rename it, I'll rename it like period 1, period 2, period 3. So every period gets a new game. And then it's easy for me to go through the data because I just would go to period 1 or period 2. And so it makes it really easy that you can just duplicate a game. And then when you open it up, you just rename it. GPS is an option and it's really kind of fun to do. So what I normally do is I'll take a very, very corner of my field and I'll put a GPS marker on it. And then the students will have to run all the way like to the other side of, we have 2 fields, one up and one low. They'll have to run all the way to the other side, to that very corner to go and get their points. It's kind of fun to do it that way. The issue with it is trying to find the right GPS location, and it's something you definitely have to play with. I have to go up there. I have to set the GPS location on the computer, and then I got to go out and test it out and make sure I'm really in a very good location. So it's fun to do, but if you want to do GPS, just plan ahead of time because it isn't perfect in finding the perfect GPS spot. In physical education, it's great because you can practice skill. You could do things like a badminton overhand hit. You can do a soccer ball kick. You can do tons of skills. You could do jump roping skills, baseball throws, locomotor skills where students could twist or turn or bend. Any skill you can imagine, you could have it part of the feed. It provides fun fitness related challenges. I have one GooseChase just for days that I have a sub and I'm in an IEP. And it's kind of set out there where it's independent. I'm on campus, so I just push it out. When class starts, the students go and do it. I have all the videos, they come back. It's also great if sometimes I kind of have one also for just an emergency lesson plan. Sometimes you go into the gym and you find out they're changing all your lights and you're like, great, I can't do my lesson today. And then I'll just go, okay, everybody, let's get the phones, let's get in the groups and let's go and do a GooseChase. So it's wonderful to do for especially that last minute thing. You don't have to have the concepts in there. You can just go and do a whole bunch of fun related fitness challenges. And honestly, your students are going to be sweating and loving every single bit of it. You can see I also use it to review content. And so the GooseChase we just did was about 5 components of fitness and warm up and cool down and indicators of exercise. So it mixes in those contents you're teaching with the physical activity that you want them to be getting. It can also reinforce those knowledge concepts. The social emotional learning, I find, as I mentioned before, is really, really important. And when you're on campus and you're in person, you can definitely add a whole bunch. I do a lot of team cheers where one is creating a team cheer. Or like, as I mentioned before, you high five another group. There's all different social emotional challenges that you can add in there. There's group work challenges that you can add in there, and to make it more interactive than just one group staying within themselves. It's gamification, which is what our students are dying for. They want games, they want activity, they want it to be fun. And this provides that gamification that they're desiring, but also what you want, which is them to be active, having fun, maybe reinforcing knowledge concepts, working on different skills. You can create it to whatever you want. And the students, it's kind of that learning in disguise. It's that fitness fun concept. It's the learning fun concept. They love it. And that's why it's so successful with me in my classes. So what I'd like to do right now is just kind of give you an opportunity to ask a few questions if you have any. So if the moderators want to kind of let me know what type of questions people have about the program or how I use it, that would be fabulous.
Most of the responses in the chat room right now are what fun, this is so cool. A lot of them were thanks for sharing, this is awesome.
I feel like back to school night. Normally I finish my presentation, I say, are there any questions? And they're like, no, you covered it all. But I want to know if there's something just kind of that you're wondering about how it's used or other type of challenges. I've done this for about a year and a half in my classes, so I'm pretty familiar with it and a lot of the different pitfalls, which normally are just not planning ahead of time with having the groups deciding of who's going to bring a phone. If you kind of do it last minute, then you end up having issues with too many people not having phones, and we don't want to put somebody in that awkward situation where they say like, I don't have a phone, I'm not allowed to have a phone. If you just kind of let them pick the groups ahead of time, is normally the biggest issue you have in keeping the feeds definitely private.
So a question came up, are you allowed to share your missions, or is there an ability to share your missions with like other teachers and whatnot?
I have not found a way to share the missions except if a teacher, and actually that's a good thing for me to show really quick since I'm still sharing my screen. So if I open up 5 components fitness examples and I go to my missions, and somebody asked earlier during the break, which is kind of good, is what do you do if a student is at home and doesn't have a cell phone? What you'll do is you have this mission and you'll hit the download button in the corner. And what it does is it downloads all the missions onto an Excel sheet. And here's all the missions out. Now I would go and delete the answers. I very easily could share this with another teacher. They would still have to type it in, but it's kind of nice. Obviously, if they're on the same platform as you and it's a teacher in your same department, they can just pull up your missions and make a copy of it and reuse it. But this is what you can do if a student is at home and they don't have a cell phone that they're allowed to use. You say, no problem, I'm going to send you the mission list and you don't have to do any extra work, just delete the answers. And then the student just checks off what they do, writes in the answers, and then reports back to you with the score. And so all students could still participate even if they didn't have a cell phone through this means.
Somebody's asking, would this work for grades 1 through 5?
Probably not. I've tried it on iPads because I have a class set of iPads. If you're in the gym, you might be able to make it work if you're in a contained space with Wi-Fi and you happen to have a class set of iPads. But when I've tried it with students outside with iPads, then had them like come back to the main area to upload, it kind of was a disaster. Any other questions? Well, I think if we're good on questions and we think everything's good, I'm okay with wrapping it up. If I don't know if the moderators want to hold on a little bit longer.
I think we're good.
Okay, I know it's a little shorter than the full time slot, but so what I will do really quick is then I'm going to put back up my main screen.
Oh, here's another question. Sorry. Somebody says, can you play live, or can you only play live, or can you assign the game? I think you just answered that sort of about the down, but go ahead.
So what you can do is you can create a game that lasts 3 days. And you could say, I want you to do every mission within the next 3 days, or time yourself and see how many you can get done in 20 minutes sometime over the next 3 days. So you can make a game last for a week if you want. And then that gives the flexibility of students. It's not as exciting for students who are competing for points because they want to know, like, I have 1,000, this person has 1,500. And so they aren't seeing that competition immediately. But you definitely can do it in that sense. I know when I pushed it out to my panel to give me some examples, which I super appreciate, I set the game for 3 days. And that way they were able to kind of do it at their own time.
There's another question. Would this be good for back to school night with families, or K through 5 families?
I've done it for a back to school night and it worked really well. I did it when we were on campus. And so I had kind of different challenges because my students are middle school. And so they had to take a picture with an administrator in a background, and they had to take a picture at the attendance office. So it also let the students and the parents, or I've done open house and back to school, both of them, but it allowed me to have them kind of figure out some important things that go on in our campus that they should know about. But I definitely think that a younger student with a parent involved could really have a fun time on a back to school night challenge, or even just if you want to do a family fun night and push it out. It definitely, my son's 5th birthday was up and we did a goose chase with families for his 5th birthday and we had an absolute blast. My 5-year-old and my 8-year-old had so much fun doing it as a family, all the challenges I created. So if a kindergarten or 3rd grader loved to do it for a birthday party with their parents, and we split up, so I had my son and my husband had my daughter, and we were like competing back and forth, seeing which one of the two of us got more points. It was a lot of fun. So I definitely would recommend something like that.
Can the app go on an iPad?
The app can go on an iPad. I've put it on before. As I mentioned, though, the issue would be you would need to be in a place that had Wi-Fi available. I know in California area, we don't have like really indoor spaces, so everything's outside, but people in other places of the world, definitely, they often live in their gyms with Wi-Fi. So that would definitely be a good choice for those of you who have that gym available.
Okay, now I think people have stopped asking.
Okay. Then I'll wrap it up again. If there's another question, we'll keep going. If not, those of you who are still on, I really appreciate you taking the time to learn the GooseChase program. And I hope it inspires you to give it a try and gamify your physical education program. You can definitely do it while we are doing distance learning or in person. If you want to get a hold of me, that is my email address. And then the presentation right there, you can go and get the links and kind of look over the step-by-step guide that I laid out. Thank you.
Can I also let everybody know that we are posting all of our presentations on the Cape Word website, and we are also attaching resources that presenters provide for us on the Caperd website. So you can get this information through the YouTube channel, which is the Caperd YouTube channel, or from the Caperd website. And we are excited to have all of our presentations up now and running, except for Jennifer's, which will be soon, onto the Caperd website. So thank you for attending tonight. We thank you, and please pay attention to what's coming next. Thank you so much.